today. It's going to be very similar. There's so much to discuss. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Also, in the question and answers form, you're going to have myself, Barry, I think maybe Steve Gomez as well. So
everybody.
And Brad, you?
And Brad. So let's start sharing your screen. I don't see that it's shared yet.
Okay, let me do that real quick. Tell me if you can see my screen. And everybody else, please make sure, let us know that in the questions form. It's good to make sure that we can see the screen.
Yeah, it looks good to me, Dan.
Okay, fantastic. So let's start with just a pre-webinar disclaimer. TradeIdeas is not a registered investment advisor. All the information that is provided by our technology is for informational and educational purposes only. Nothing here should be construed as a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. So without further ado, we jump right on in. So we are in the middle of our TradeIdeas summer test drive, and this is the first of its kind that we've done this way, where we actually have people who pay $7.99 and they get 5 days of full access to TradeIdeas, the artificial intelligence, the limit alerts where you can set your own prices for things, just the full access package for $7.99. Today is the last day that you can join, and you still get the full 5 days. So you get 5 days from the day you start. Okay, so today is the last day, and Brad, maybe you can post the link if it's not in there already for people to participate if they're here and they're just in the webinar and they haven't done so. There's still that opportunity.
You bet. I'll post that in the chat area.
Yep. So the other thing, again, before we start, we always like to point out that TradeIdeas has an opportunity to do things that other people can't. We have a vibrant, active community of people using our technology, interacting with that technology throughout the day in the markets, and sharing ideas. It's moderated by Barry Anderson, who's a fantastic trader himself, an experienced moderator, very well-tempered, and we take the time to communicate with our clients, inform them of the best way to interact with the technology, and people share information with one another. It's a positively synergistic environment, and because it's free, we really encourage everyone to be in there and take advantage. Some of the best trades, even though you might not be able to see them at the best prices, you still see them discussed and are able to take advantage. The other thing that really changes your perspective of TradeIdeas is what you're doing here on our webinar. We provide access to you in a way that other people don't. There's 4 webinars throughout the day. We feel like active investing is similar to, a constant education where you get the professor and there's office hours. We're always trying to improve. And in a sense, we're also the coaches too. We help you see things because we have the most experience with this technology. So our trading room is something that everybody here should participate in and take advantage of. So I'm about to jump into the presentation, but the bottom line about being in the stock market is this. We are all looking for this, okay? So this was a trade that the AI did on the 12th, so before 5 days before the webinar started. And the reason I'm showing this, and I think most of you hopefully are in the open house and have access, is that again, we are doing something completely different. We're changing the game. We're changing the game of investing. We are doing what can be done. People say you can't time things, and I think partly the problem is the way people interpret the definition of what is and isn't timing. Timing isn't always perfect, and we agree that you cannot predict the future. The future is not predictable. But there are various things that happen in the future that you can be ready for, and that's the advantage of using the TradeIdeas approach to the markets. We don't sit there and think to ourselves that we can figure out what somebody is tweeting about on Twitter by what they tweeted about. We look at how much Twitter traffic is there in a stock like N and seeing if that behavior is unusual and what's the price of the stock. We combine everything. We create derived data that only we possess. And that's why the primary focus of the open house really is to introduce you to a new way of thinking. A way of thinking where you allow just like you allow Google Navigate to tell you turn right, turn left, in 3 miles, take this exit. The TradeIdeas artificial intelligence, Holly, is doing the same to you, but in terms of pursuit of profits. It's destination set to profits, and it's telling you, here's the symbol, here's the price that I think you should buy it at, and it's telling you when to get out. And what we're going to show you now is, again, how we interact with this technology and the best ways for you to be able to capture the most for yourself. So I'm going to switch to the software mode. So Brad, today was one of these days, ladies and gentlemen. It was one of these days where you almost had to have been there to believe it, you know. Again, this is the TradeIdeas software. So I have it on the AI channel. And what I can do is just, again, so everyone sees, I have a routine where in the morning I'm on the pre-market, I'm looking at the gaps, you know, what had gapped up, what had gapped down, and I'm just watching the flow, you know, seeing what's happening in general. As soon as the market opens, I know that the AI is not going to trade for about 15 minutes. We do that for a reason, simply because in the first 15 minutes, the kind of volatility that is taking place, it's so chaotic that it's very easy to get out of, to be wiggled out. So we just avoid the first 15 minutes, let things settle in. And in the meantime, though, we're investigating, and what we're doing is we're putting in markers. So we have a methodology to using our technology, and the methodology is very simple. We kind of describe it as the Holly Trinity. Okay, what we mean by that is this. So you see a stock, Tower Stream. You know, we kind of take a snap look here, zoom out, you're like, wow, look at this big long downtrend. What happens if this thing started to reverse like it did in May and it went from 3 to 11? I mean, that's a serious percentage mover. And look here, it had a day where it went from 2 to 7. And another, and another, and another. So I'm going to put in another alert right here. If it starts to go back above these levels, I'm now making a note that this could start to run. So how did I do that? Again, I just right-clicked in any chart and set my alert. Okay. The idea of the we present in TradeIdeas is one of simplicity, the keep it simple, stupid paradigm. The more indicators you see, the more stuff that's visually impairing you from seeing the pureness of what's happening graphically to the price, the more you're hurting yourself. So we just look visually at what's happening, and without the need to have distractions, we let our eyes guide us to where we believe it looks good. Here it is. That's the price level, that's what it looks, and now I'm set. And this process that I'm doing, again, I'll just give another example. Here's ZX China something or other. I can zoom out. What I noticed right away is, look, that's some serious volume that took place here, you know, on these 2 days. So something's going on. I don't know what it is, and it looks like something's happening after hours, but I'm going to just put in a note, like right here, and say, on fire. And Brad, we talk about, again, keeping it simple. So this is just an example. I'm in a channel, I'm making notes. Here I'm on the AI, and I've switched, and now I'm waiting for the software to start telling me when I should get in and when I should get out of something. So the first trade that happened from our AI today was PGNX. Okay? So PGNX was signaled at 6:47 a.m. There were actually two trades, so PGNX and SYNC. two smaller stocks on the buyer stepping in, you know, again, that's an exploitive algorithm that our AI uses and creates all on its own, starting from an idea that we gave it. It takes that idea and it continues to evolve that idea. So this was a stock, and about 30 minutes later, the software took 8 cents profit because, again, it felt that from a risk perspective, it wanted to lock in what it needed to lock in. We have devised, Holly, to need to protect your account. It's an interesting, again, approach. Think about it. Our software has a method called the risk off profit and the risk reduced and profit save. So these two descriptions are ways in which Holly works to help preserve your account. So these modes are always on, and here she locked this in. And in SYNC was another stock, again, that looked like it might try, and it's been, you know, as you can see, it's done some interesting action, and here it was starting again, but this one did not work out per se. The next one, and again, these 4 trades happened pretty quickly. I mean, GLBL, we got into it right here, and Holly locked in 3 cents after 1 minute because it pulled back very quickly, so just exited right away. Didn't like that behavior, but GLBL did go up quite a bit in terms of percentage from that entry price. So again, we are looking at the things that have the opportunity, the potential. The next trade, 654. This turned out to be one of the beautiful ones where Holly locked in 19 cents in 10 minutes. And then it pretty much continued to go in risk-on mode, 30 cents profit. We've done quite a bit of modification. And Brad, you and I will talk a little bit about that. What I want to do, though, is I want to add a column that isn't in here. And so one of the things I'm going to show is that, number one, almost everything that we have is configurable. So there's columns in these windows, and if you wanted to, you can, again, modify the view. So I'm going to go over here and look at risk on profit percent, and I'm going to add that. I'm going to hit OK. So what I'm trying to show you here, there it is. What I'm trying to show you is that the percentages that we are trying to find with our artificial intelligence are really quite a bit different than, in fact, I'm going to move this window and I'll just expand everything out. Here we go. There's quite a bit different from what you would see, you know, in the standard interpretation of the market. Number one, we understand that the market has unique and interesting opportunities, and everything that we have the AI get into has very strong longer-term potential. One of the things that we showcase, that we've talked about in countless webinars, is this pattern where there's a large gap down, a digestion, and a consolidation. And here, the longer the consolidation, the better the base. And PTC Therapeutics, is one of these stocks that, again, because Holly is looking for this, we want this one to go to 20. It can. And just because, again, Holly gets out does not mean that you have to. That's one of the things that really is a personal risk assessment need, where you have to figure out if you can or cannot hold positions overnight. It has to do with your account size and your risk tolerance, and that is something that is unique to you. But we want to make sure you understand that these stocks have potential, immense potential, and that's what we are here to do. The other thing too is look at okay, I'm going to talk about just percentage return. So Brad and I were discussing the fact that, and we talked about this with Barry in our trading room, the artificial intelligence today was performing in a way that simply is very hard to replicate or say, how could you really do better? Because there were plenty of trades. There was plenty of opportunities, and knowing how difficult the markets are, you just can't look back and say it's not impressive to be at 88.9% on 9 trades, you know, or in this particular strategy. It just means that things are working. And again, notice the key here is not just closing your eyes and praying that everything's going to work. It's having a methodology for when things don't work, you know. And that's the other thing that that is the most important part of what we're doing in this open house, is we're trying to teach an approach and a methodology to the market that's different from what people tell you about. People don't tell you that these percentages are possible, or when they do, they dismiss it like, oh, you're lucky, or you're gambling, or whatever. But I can assure you that Warren Buffett doesn't think that. You know, he's in it, when he buys things, he's in it to make a lot of money. And that's what we want to present. That's what we want to show as the kind of things that are possible. You have a virtual analyst that's sitting there all day long and giving you trades and succeeding at these kind of rates. It's about as good as it can get. So HTBX, Heat Biologics, is one of these things that I think, Brad, in my mind, exemplifies what it is that people look for. Here you have a very small stock. I mean, why do we particularly bring this one up? Well, because at HTBX, at 80 cents, you know all of your downside is 80 cents if it goes to zero. You know, if you buy 100,000 shares or 1,000 shares, it doesn't matter. You know exactly what is going to happen. In theory, you can say that about everything, but because the stock is so small, it should give you a lot of confidence.
So Dan,
look at this.
Yes. So early on, you kind of talked a little bit about methodology. You pulled up the pre-market channel, and you looked at some of the stocks that may be moving pre-market, and you used the price alert feature to set some alerts for you. But you know, in honesty, when you look at the AI signals that are generated through the day, these are incredible opportunities to put into your price alert window, right? To set some signals that will alert you to continued movement. And this HTBX is really a great example of that. The AI decided that it was time to kind of get out. Nothing was really happening in that stock, but you have to remember, it found that stock for a reason. It found it because it was something abnormal was happening. It saw some footprints in the sand that said, this stock is really kind of poised to go, but nothing's perfect, right? Nothing, you can't always say, okay, it's going to go right now, but it found something. And in knowing that, this is a great example of a stock that you could put a price alert on so that when it starts to go, you're going to be alerted to it. And you could have done that at 85 cents, I mean, late into that move, and still had an opportunity to really, you know, participate in this stock move.
Yeah, I mean, the move really started to happen quite a bit later. And for a little while, like Brad said, you know, it ran up and showed you what it could do, and then it really came back and then started to run at the very end.
But you also have to look at the longer term chart on the right, the daily chart, and see the opportunity that exists over the longer term. And that's why when you're entering into a signal in TradeIdeas, it's not necessarily a day trade or a swing trade or an investment. You have to kind of see how it pans out. But when you look at that longer term opportunity right there, there's no reason you need to get out of that.
Absolutely. And we always suggest to not put yourself into a corner of defining yourself as a day trader or a swing trader or any, don't paint yourself. The more open you are, the better you're going to be. If you need to be trading just for the day because it doesn't look good, trade that way. If you're in a position, like here, let me show you the stock. And again, this is from personal experience, but this was a Holly trade. PRTO, Brad. I bought this right here at 623. This is literally my entry price. Okay, and I'm still in it. I mean, it's kind of consolidating. I know what I want. I don't want it to get below, you know, like this area right here. But if it goes, I mean, you're talking about possibly a run to 11. So we approach things much less defining ahead of time and more so just risk relevance, and everything is relative to you. It's all about the price that you got into. So Brad, one of the things that we talked about with people in the open house in the room is what's the biggest impediment that's hurting investors and traders, and I believe that impediment is the fear of entry. The fear of taking action is probably the biggest hurdle that investors have to cross before they can open themselves up to unusual returns. Because people tend to need to have a reason, they want to have a why and really an understanding. But this need to do that is something that was most likely imprinted upon you, not through you, but through people who are trying to make sure that you do things the way they want. So this notion of why, again, why did HTBX go up 23% today? We do not know. And it's not that important because we've already captured that 22%. Whether I knew about it or didn't know about it is not the relevant thing. And we make the analogy to the satellite data from Google when you navigate, or from Apple. You're not worrying about where the satellite is or how far away is it in the Earth orbit. And there's so much complicated science that's taking place behind the scenes, but you trust it because you use it. And this is the approach you should be doing here. You should be focusing on this window. You should be using the artificial intelligence because look at what it's showing you it can do during the day. 89, tested 71%, traded 89. Tested 63, traded 80. Tested 62, traded 50. Tested 59, traded 50. But the most important thing is education through repetition. So Brad, you and I being the potential professional golfers that we, okay, at least me, being the potential professional golfer that I am, we know that it's only through repetition and practice that you get better and better. We as an ape or as a mammal, we learn through observation. But the question really comes to mind is, how do you learn investing? Well, you can do it yourself and learn through experience, what we call that is by bloody noses. Or you can try to get educated. But then again, the question is, how do you educate yourself? There are education outfits out there. But the problem that we see and that we're trying to solve is, what can you replicate? You know, when you are done with your stock education, is your educator going to be there again, continuously reinforcing that education? Most likely no. And that's what we wanted to solve. We wanted to fix that. And so we wanted to accomplish really two things in one. Number one, we were obsessed about beating the market, and we wanted to beat it, and we wanted to beat it systematically. And now we are doing it. But there's something else. We wanted to do two things at once. We didn't just want to show you the good trades and hopefully have you be in them. We wanted to show you a pattern behavior that you can imitate, okay? That you can say, okay, well, look at the downside here. Holly got into UAL, and by the way, you can tell why she got into UAL, because the idea is that it was coming down and it was at this kind of support level. So you can't, I mean, again, you can't predict it perfectly, but you can see what was being attempted, especially on a day like this, but it didn't work out, okay? The stop was hit, and when the stop got hit, Holly exited the trade. It was that simple. And when you watch this behavior happening, you're like, wait a minute, she was in this, why did she get out? And you realize, look, this AI, the one that's outperforming the market, the one that's getting these statistics, it's not just printing money and making fake trades and doing whatever it is that we've seen other educators do. It's doing it all in real time in a way that you can validate it. You can say, oh, I see what happened. You know, I see why she got out. Here's another one. Again, we're looking to buy it on this pullback where you're thinking it's at a support level, but it doesn't always happen because the future, you can't predict it. You can just try to be there and anticipate and hope the behavior predicts. But ultimately, If you do not have an answer for what to do when you were wrong, you will fail, and you will fail miserably. So that's what we wanted to solve. We wanted to solve by creating a way that the computer communicates to you. Stop, stop, reduce risk, reduce risk, reduce risk, reduce risk. And it's doing it all for you, all automatically. I mean, I have this sorted in different ways so I can see, you know, how much my biggest winner in one mode is, or how much my biggest winner in another mode is. And as Barry and Brad and I, as we point out during the open house, it's a constant interaction with the data. Barry was talking about this trade in ETP. Okay, ETP right here is just probably one of the sweetest kinds of trades that you could just be in. I mean, Brad, look at this one.
I mean, that's a no stress trade right there.
It's really a no stress trade. And again, because it happened towards the end of the day, the AI locked in 12 cents because, again, its primary objective in this mode is to put money, you know, in your wallet. But that's where you have the ability to go back and forth.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Dan. I want to point out, like, this was later in the day right here, right? And there was already a lot of data that had been provided to us through this. And by clicking on that graph that you see, the risk on profit graph, and we're going to be doing a little bit of automation here coming up, but toggling back and forth, you can really see very quickly which mode here has the most profit today. And this being late in the day, you knew that the risk on mode was the mode that was really generating the profit. So when that trade exited on ETP, you already knew in the back of your mind, hopefully in the front of your mind, that this was really a risk on type of day. A lot of follow through on a lot of these positions that were entered in early.
And ultimately, Brad, it's about attention. You know, we at TradeIdeas, we're competing for your commission dollars, we're competing for your attention, because the market can only make you money if you win it. You're only in it to win it. Wait a minute, you can only win it if you're in it. I got too excited.
Can I quote you on that?
Yes, quote the reverse of what I was saying. So this is kind of the apex there. You know, we have the routine. It does not need to be complicated. You know, when you go to a restaurant, you get an amazing meal, you know, it's served, you eat it, and you hopefully digest it, and you have an incredibly good experience. That's what we want to do here. That's what we want to do with TradeIdeas. And again, what you're seeing here is the pinnacle. It's the ultimate expression in financial technology for the individual investor. You didn't have to set any of this up. It was all done for you in real time. So Brad, one of the other things that I want to really kind of talk about is that aside from the AI, of course, we have these power windows. Okay, we have these lists where it's supplementary information. The AI won't get everything, but there's other things happening. And the star today, the star of stars, Brad, how come you didn't make me get into 70,000 shares?
I don't know, but you know, I was I didn't participate in that particular stock, but did have the pleasure of listening to Barry live in real time, enjoying the trade that he was in, and parceling it off all along the way.
Barry, again, Barry was not the only one in our room who participated in this, but in order to have participated in it, you have to be open to the possibility, and you have to be looking at the technology. And we are first to everything. You know, we were watching OPTT here, and I was showing people screenshots of this. In fact, OPTT was a Holly trade, by the way. And this is what we're looking for. These are the little footprints before it starts. I mean, this is the kind of market, ladies and gentlemen, that you should be dreaming about. This is a dream market. Let me explain a little bit why this is a dream market. We're trading stocks that hedge funds and institutions don't trade. Why? Because they're lower float stocks. These guys, what they're used to is, I want to buy 200,000 shares and get in it. I mean, I've seen some of these conversations, you know. I want to get 500,000 shares and be in it for a year and make 30%. But the markets have moved away from that business. I mean, if you're talking about, that's pure gambling right there. The stocks that we're in, they can't get into them. I mean, it's not like literally they can, but it's just not in their policies. It's not what they do. So what you are doing here is this is information and individual investors and opportunities coming together to find the perfect rhythmic dance for us, the individual investors. It's to me, Brad, it's never been a more exciting time, because I remember when you and I started in 1998, and you know, we were trading Qualcomm and InfoSeek and some of the big internet names, and I remember, you know, raising my hands in victory when I made that like $50,000 in one day on Yahoo, and I thought to myself, my goodness, it's amazing. And after it was over, it took 20 years, but it's coming back. It's coming back, and OPTT and others are the stars. So what I want to do is
show these guys X and Y right here. Adjust your price alert. Bring it down a little bit so that you're notified of this thing right around like 210 or something. You know, you're leaving a lot on the table right there. And so just by dragging it, he's adjusting it and restarting the whole signal from it.
It's everything that we're doing is very visual. So here I'm just letting my computer know as soon as this thing gets above this price level, now let me know immediately. What should you be looking for tomorrow? Look at this thing. No, it would be no surprise, and I'm going to immediately put an alert on here, and I'm going to say no surprise. Here we go. So by the way, if you aren't a TradeIdeas client, you should be writing these names down. You should all be thinking less about, ooh, what formula and configuration. Like this isn't about tinkering under the hood of a Volkswagen. This is about auto-driving Teslas, and not the ones that accidentally kill you. I had to say that, Brad. You know, I just had to. Okay, let's look at this one. Here's another one. This was an old high flyer. Back, I mean, and Brad, you know what I really liked about this, by the way, is look, we have some of our old trend lines that we did for the webinar. So look at this thing. So I'm just giving you the bird's eye view. And by the way, that's OPTT2. So look at this thing goes from 2 to 22 to 4 to 13 to 3 to 9, and we're back at 3. It's about to get interesting again. So what do? We don't want to worry about the why. We want to say time to fly. Brad, I used fly because it rhymes with Y.
You're a genius.
Thank you. And a superior beat creator. Okay, so we got this one. So VLTC looks like, again, it could be setting up for tomorrow. I'm looking at some very interesting stuff. NEOT. Okay, so we have all of these windows, and by the way, look at these. This is what we call a rich data environment. We don't just watch price action at TradeIdeas. We're watching the depth, like efficiency. By the way, every window that I have here at the turn and all these others, in fact, our system is so powerful that we've been using the cloud before it was a cloud. Brad, what do we use the cloud?
We collaborated now.
That's right. No, exactly. So here, I'm saving this link, and now I'm dropping this link into chat. And now everybody has a link for me that you can copy, and then you can go to my cloud, click on it, load, and that exact copy of that window will appear with all of these beautiful things, except for maybe this column because it's a custom filter. But don't worry about that. All of that will be available. The really important thing ultimately is the names. Okay, so NEOT, that means it does not take in a lot of money to make this thing go up quite a bit. That's really one of the things that we talk about in terms of efficiency. So I'm going to set a price right here, just right above here, and say it looks very good. And that's what we do at the Q&A webinars too. I mean, I want to do more of telling you what has potential versus just sitting there and describing our software per se. Again, a beautiful chart right here, life. You guys, this is what you want to see. Okay, because look at what happened in PRTO. Okay, this is the one I am in. Look at the way it turned around. Okay, very similar maybe if life starts going. So I'm going to put a little, I mean, this is a beautiful chart right here. Life is going. Basics. Very, very basics. Investing, smart investing and alpha capture is more visual for the human. You let the computer do all the number crunching and all of this stuff. This is all the computer brings this to my attention. We already did all of that behind the scenes. So now it's up to us to kind of interact with it. Love these formations. This is what we call the gap fills. These are some of the most profitable formations. Filling the gap. And again, you can see I'm just clicking on a symbol, right-clicking where I like it, and that's it. So today is the last day you can sign up for the $7.99 open house. I really encourage everybody to do it. Every day we're showing you how this technology is applied. We're interacting with the artificial intelligence. We're going over all the trades, and whatever is happening in real time, you get to see it. Ultimately, you will have to decide if this is for you or if it's not for you, but I will simply say this. I don't see how it gets any better because, again, you're getting right close to the magic barrier. You know, we called our AI Holy Grail because through being in the trade ideas business since 2003, Brad, what does everybody want when we talk to them? We have, you know, our...
Is it the Holy Grail? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, people want that. So, Brad, people are asking, how can current users without the AI try the AI? Can they just get the $7.99?
Yeah, they can just do the $7.99, and that should take care of it.
Yeah,
Sign
I'll
up
that
for
link in again.
that test drive.
Yeah, remember, this premium, super expensive technology costs $5.77 a day. Okay, so that's what you need to think about in terms of the most valuable information stream on the planet when it comes to finding stocks that have potential to go in the direction that we think is the direction to take them. Brad, let's answer some questions. I mean, I think...
Yeah, well, I think we're pretty caught up, except for I was just answering Ronald's question about automation with Sterling. And Sterling, while we used to allow automation with Sterling through a third-party tool called Stock Ticker, we do not anymore. But that does kind of lead me to the next integration that we have on the table. And right now, we do allow for automation with Lightspeed, and soon we'll be allowing automation through our Brokerage Plus interface with Interactive Brokers. So excited about that.
Okay, Brad, let's answer AWM. I think it's a good question. So AWM said, well, how do you use Holly? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove some of my other windows from here, and I'm actually going to go to the pre-market channel. So here I am. There's no Holly, there's no AI, this is just trade ideas. The market isn't open, it's 10 minutes before the market. Ding, 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 the market opens. I leave my pre-market channel and I start to channel surf. So notice, I'm not configuring anything, everything's already done. So I first go to the social media channel, I see what's going on in there, I'm like, oh, this is, by the way, Brad. Isn't this interesting? I believe this is a stock everybody should now pay attention to. Well,
Yeah, that may even be worthy of two different price alert levels, you know, one to kind of notify and
okay.
that one right there to confirm.
Oh boy. So you got a whoa and an oh boy. That's a very high level, complicated algorithmic setup right there. Okay.
Now, what a great day
So,
for that stock today, right?
oh my God. Yeah, but look at the move. I mean, again, if you can start filling in here, there could be some. This is what it's about. And remember, too, guys, we don't put all of our vested heart and love into being right, because if we're wrong, we can just simply get out. That's what we do. It's a trial and error process. We just are into the things that have a better odds of winning because we have the artificial intelligence helping us. So okay, so this is social media. We're 2 minutes in the market. I put in some alerts and I'm waiting, looking at some other stuff. Here's Amazon, here's Bank of America. Okay, now 7 minutes into the market, I'm trying to check out the options channel. TradeIdeas watches options volume. And the Coca-Cola FEMSA, I have no idea what that is, has very unusual options activity because it normally doesn't trade any. And again, I can just see some of the information. Microsoft, interesting stuff. Intel, interesting stuff. I mean, again, interesting things happening. Cisco, interesting things happening. Now I'm back to, it's 4:45, and I'm saying to myself, okay, I want to check out the AI. Now, by the way, Brad, I'm pretty sure, well, maybe remind me, if I'm not on the AI channel and a trade goes on the AI, I won't hear it, right? Because I would have to be on the
Yeah,
channel.
you won't hear it. You need to have one of the windows open. And you can pin these windows
Got it.
like you can pin the
Okay.
other ones.
All right. So as soon as you click on the AI channel, what you're going to see is these are the strategies. Okay. So notice I'm not configuring anything. Okay. So these are the strategies that are available, and nothing will be in there because, again, nothing will have traded. In the open trades, you will have seen, like, so at 6:47, PGNX will have appeared in here, and it would have said entry price at 6:11. It would have counted off the P&L, and that's your signal saying this is what Holly's in. It did two stocks at once, PGNX, SYNC. And then 2 minutes later, it was in GBLL. And you could have looked at each one of them and decided, based on what you saw, if you liked them or if you didn't like them. And again, same thing. At 6:54, 10 minutes later, PTCT came out, and this was the result. So that's how you use Holly. You're watching her, you're following her, you can bounce ideas off by interacting with the room. And the other thing that you're doing is you're watching this window, which is the overall market risk on, risk off window. So for example, let's say it's late in the day and CYNO comes out, this trade right here, and it's 12:58. If I notice that there's more red than green, I'll be like, maybe I won't take that one as much because it's risk off. I'm sorry, it's risk. Yes, it's risk off, and it's the end of the day. So that's kind of like another confirmation for me. I typically prefer to trade in either direction when the risk is on my side. Of course, it's still dependent because you can't overthink that either. Like a stock like OPTT, it will do this if the S&P is Brexiting. You can have the S&P doing a full Brexit and OPTT doing this at the same time. So you have to understand, not everything moves together. But again, this just helps you have a feel. All of our technology is designed to help you have a feel. Okay, so Adam, I'm not really sure what you mean by all of that, because if you look at the percentage in here, I'll just move this. Let me add, Brad, is that column in here, or do I need to add it? I need to add it.
Which column are you looking for?
The percentage of risk on percent. Or you can do both. I'm going to actually add both of them. Risk on, and then risk off. Okay, that's in the other window. Okay, here. So again, look at these percentages. 22%, 8%, 5%, 4%, 1%, 1%. I mean, and again, if you're scrolling down and you're looking at the percentages, I don't really, you know, I don't really think that you need to worry about the size. It's not, again, the AI is already, we've thought of these questions, and that's why, again, I'm glad you're asking the questions. It's very important, and I don't want to seem like I'm dismissing it all, but remember, guys, that we here have a collective, like, 100-year experience actively investing for ourselves. So we already, everything that you might need, we've probably needed it ourselves. That's why it's good that you're working with us, so that we can help. We're creating the technology to help us see things better. So for example, we just added a new piece of tech to the AI called a column that lets you know which one of your positions that the AI has been in is working the best for you right now. Okay, so here in this example, it was right at the close. It was this one because it just went up 3 cents right as the market was finishing, and it's like right here. That's what you can see. But this is going to be a huge advantage, and today was really, Brad, the first day that you could kind of just play around with it. But this is, we just added this, and it just came out in a new beta that hopefully will come out tomorrow or the next day. And that's really probably the best way to kind of finish this up, is by saying is that we are continuously developing. Our technology never stays still. We're adding functionality continuously, and you're already seeing huge improvements in the AI, and they will simply continue to move forward.
So that's Dan, why I want to grab one last question from Jennifer, because it may be something that we overlook, but just I want to kind of tie it together. And she wants a little more detail on that risk off profit chart and the risk on profit chart. Maybe you can stretch out that strategy closed trades window also, so we can see all the trades. And I want to explain really how that data is populated. And
okay,
if you can,
let's do that.
Yeah, and just stretch that out. So if you can imagine, at the beginning of the day, there was only one trade. Let's just say there was only one trade. That's going to be...
I'm going to go to here, Brad. Let me sort of, this is in chronological order.
There you go.
This is how
so when
the trades happen.
PGNX was triggered and that position was initiated, for a period of time, it may have only been a minute or so, but that was the only position on the board. Well, that chart right there is going to keep track of the profitability of that position. And as you continue to put more positions on, or as Holly continues to put more positions on, it's going to give you that graphical equity curve as to how those positions are doing. And that is a risk-off mode when you're talking about Holly looking at trades and then closing them out. Because every strategy has to have a time expiration. It may be 30 minutes, maybe an hour, it may be to the end of the day, but she has to close every trade. And when she closes a trade, that's going to be a risk-off trade. But if you were to continue to stay into that position, we're going to keep tracking that profitability. We're going to keep tracking it to the end of the day so that you can see, had you not gotten out of that position, would it still be continuing to go? And so we're giving you that informational feedback here through these two different charts to let you know the cumulative portfolio. Is it a risk-on portfolio? Is it continuing to go? Is there follow-through? Or is it a type of day that you should be closing these positions out, and as soon as you can?
That's right. Terry, you're very close. Not percent return, but blended dollar return. So the thing is, we could not possibly know how many shares you could trade. So to keep this kind of on a more level, basic feel for everybody, we count how many points. Points is like, the dollars and cents between the entry and the exit. So again, going back here, PGNX, we got in at 6.11 and our exit price was 6.19, a risk off profit of 8 cents. So that contributed to 8 cents. 8 cents of this is here. And that's how it's all put together. So in essence, if you take the risk off profit, and you add all of these columns together, On the risk off, if you take the 59, negative, 30, negative, 14, negative, 7, 6, 2, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, and do all of this, that will come out to $1.79 total. In risk off mode, in risk on mode, meaning that you held the positions longer and you let them kind of wiggle around, you are up a total of $2.57.
Okay. So Dan, there's a little bit of confusion on the compare count window because we are calling that risk on and risk off, and this is really another piece of analytics that we created that really is pitting two different strategies against each other. And the bullish strategy happens to be looking for strong, new highs on different time frames, and the bearish or the red color is looking for new lows, and we can see in real time how these guys are fighting against each other. And when there's a significant difference, like when the green is 60% and the red is 40%, that's a significant difference, and you're going to find that there's a lot of follow through, and that is a risk on scenario because you've got a real bullish behavior in the market at that time.
Brad, one of the things that I like to kind of point on the graph right here, it's our ability, it's a custom piece of tech that's only available at TradeIdeas, and what we're doing is this is another way to feel the tape. It's to see which way the wind is blowing. That's really one of the best ways that I can describe it. Which way is the wind blowing? And in this case, you can tell that it's not blowing in any way, right? It's completely the same. I mean, in this case, it's identical.
It does need some data to feed it. It's important that the market's going to get something good out of it.
Right. Right now, it's on, but this is all after hours data. So Apple has had some after hour low, and Newmont Mining has had some after hour high, and Qualcomm has done very well after hours. Okay. So this is all real data, and it's 50-50 in terms of risk on versus risk off. Okay. So if we're, for example, in the middle of the day, and this is like 60 to 40, and a new Holly trade comes in, I'm feeling more confident about it. And at the same time, if let's say Holly takes profit save exit of 8 cents, okay, but it's 60-40 here, I might not get out, and I might stay in longer and hopefully take advantage of the full 44. That's one of the ways that this works. It's just another way for you to help you get to a decision quicker. And ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, you have to get to buying more quickly. And I mean not buying, it's buying or shorting or whatever. The more time you're thinking about it, it's paralysis by analysis. You have to just Nike it. Just do it.
So, Dan, there's another question here. I just moved through. It's from Jimmy asking how he can use this on morning gaps. And I know maybe you can just pop over to the pre-market channel real quick, but in all of these different channels and inside of TradeIdeas as a whole, we give you access to different window types. And one window type happens to be a top list, and that's a ranked list of stocks based on the filtered criteria. That's what you're looking at with the up gappers and down gappers window. But if you're trying to do something during the market hours, it's quite possible you may want to use an alert window, which is going to give you an event-based notification. And you can put in all the filters you want. Maybe you only want to look for stocks that have gapped up 2% for the day, but now they're starting to make a new high, or they've had a little bit of a pullback. And you can specify what kind of a trigger event that you want, but really different ways to use the software, and we've provided different ways to visualize that data.
Brad, I want to touch on, so Austin, the reason we call it risk on and risk off is that's an industry term. That's just something that is used in the industry. You can Google it. It's an Investopedia term. Again, it might not be self-explanatory, but then again, I mean, not everything in life can be completely self-explanatory. Think about when you are risk on, you're going to feel comfortable taking more risk. When you are risk off, you're going to be more conservative. That's the best way that we can explain it. So, Alan, we're still testing that 4.078 link. I really think that maybe tomorrow during the day we'll be able to pop it in there. I hope. So, Terry, Brad, can we filter out reverse splits? Here's the thing. Why do you need to? There's a lot of people spend a lot of time tinkering and trying to do things that they are not sure is something you want to tinker with. And the reason I'm saying that is simply because it takes so much time to try to then do something, look at it, and only then realize that it might not be relevant. A lot of these stocks, the smaller float stocks, are stocks you want to be watching. You want to be looking at them, and some of them are considering in all sorts of splits. So we haven't, we don't specifically filter them, but you can use the float column, and then depending on what size float it will have, that's probably one of the ways to filter it. So remember that here, any window that we have in TradeIdeas, it can be modified and saved. So I can go to float, and I can say, let's say float, and I can add the filter, and I can say, okay, so I want a maximum float of, let's say, 50.
That's minimum.
That's oh, sorry. No, I want a minute. I'm sorry, because I'm talking about a reverse split will mean the it goes from small float to big float, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. What I would suggest is, I don't have any way to do it automatically, but you can create a symbol list and exclude that symbol list. And when you find a reverse split and you don't like it, you can just add it to that symbol list of stocks you don't want to watch.
Yeah. Well, here's just, again, I'm giving one example where I just modified it. Now everything has at least 50 million in the float. And then if I want to change that, I can take that 50, just cut it, paste it to the maximum, and say, okay, now it's maximum, and now it's a different type of list. So that's the beauty with TradeIdeas, is if you see what I just did, I mean, I kind of completely modified these two windows in one little move, and I have completely two different views, which then you can do something like this. Right-click, duplicate, move it to here, configure, and now move this back to the way you had it, where you take the 50 million, cut it, paste it, and now here's your kind of big float gappers, and here's your small float gappers, all together in a beautiful universe of gappers. Brad, how are we caught up on all of the questions?
Yeah, I think we are. I think we are. Let's.
All right, so let me do this. I want to make sure that everyone knows that there's the beta you should have is 4077. We're probably going to be moving to 4078 very shortly. That's going to be happening. We're in open house. Ladies and gentlemen, you get a chance to have savings off of TradeIdeas that hacks away at that brutal $5.77 for the premium package. So this premium package is the one that gives you access to the artificial intelligence and all of the higher level functionality that's within TradeIdeas, is either $18.88 or $188 a month. But during the test drive, if you put in the code key2drive, you get $388 off your first year, $38 off your first month, or $133 off the standard subscription, or $14 off the standard monthly. This is how we make the technology. We use your subscription dollars to fuel our development and continue to invent what people say is uninventable. We are always there for you. You should follow us on Twitter. I am TradeIdeas1, and if you like people that are a little bit crazy, that's me. Our corporate account is much more calm at TradeIdeas. Please like our Facebook page. You can contact us at info@tradeideas.com, or in this case, this is Brad's email, brad@tradeideas.com, or if you want me, it's dan@tradeideas.com, and we also have a phone number. We have 4 webinars throughout the week, so investing is a continuous education. You're never done, right? It's kind of like golf. You always have to practice. This is the same thing with Trade Ideas. You are never done. We have over 600 people in this open house, and all I can tell you is that, ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to get any better than what you're seeing here. This is it. This is the pinnacle. If you are watching software that can help you make money during the day by itself without the need to do anything but observe and act, this is as good as it gets. And please keep going to the trading room.
Hey Dan,
keep
one
trying.
last thing. If you would not mind getting, do you have your Holly must watch top list handy? Maybe you can pop that if it's handy into the chat link so people can grab it. Had a couple requests for that.
Holly must watch. Absolutely. Save and share to cloud. Save and share. Copy. And I'm putting it in the chat. Right, it's there. So again, feel free to cut and paste. Is that good enough?
Yep.
Oh, there's one. Let me give you guys another one. That's really another fantastic one that I love. Kind of giving you my insider information. So I'm going to show you this. So I have a couple of ones. So of course I've got the Holly must watches. You know, these are the things that, you know, we're in it. We're watching these. We're trading these. AI is trading these. This is what you want to be in. I mean, when they go, I mean, if you're in these in the right direction, you're going to be getting some very good returns. Zag was one that we were in yesterday, and it was just one that wasn't perfect, but look at, again, you have it on your watch list. That's the whole idea of working with us. So this is called Holly's Must Watch List. You have it. Now I have another one called At the Turn. And don't be surprised if some of the names are the same, but NEOT. Why did I say it's at the turn? Well, it's trying to kind of turn around. That's what we're looking at. There's a turn behavior. Same thing with this. TCPI, look back. It might not be overbought. It's filling the gap. It's at the turn. Life. Look at this beautiful chart. Travel Zoo. It's at the turn. I'm going to make a little alert here. Travel time. It doesn't have to be difficult. It can just be beautiful. That's what we're about. Let the beauty come to you and see the market like you've never seen before. These are the names, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to be doing something tomorrow. So I want to thank everybody for being here, taking the time with us. Please feel free to subscribe now. Like I said, we want you to stay as long as you want, but it's not going to necessarily get any better. This was so good today with OPTT and the rest that, I mean, again, it's just been a pleasure having you see it. And again, it's an honor serving you. Brad, any other questions? Brad?
Oh, sorry, I think I muted myself. No, I think that was a great presentation today, Dan. A lot of good stuff. I do think we're caught up here on the question panel, so I think we're good to wrap it up.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And again, if you missed anything and if we didn't get to you, just send us an email, follow up, go to our trading room. Free, every morning from open to close. All right, thank you for participating. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye now. Bye.